Hey guys, welcome back to another draining video. Today we're going to be talking about one of the really cool retro line bikes from Triumph, the Bobber and Bobber Black. Okay, so this video is going to serve sort of multi-purpose. We're going to be looking at an 18 Bobber and a 19 Bobber, and we're going to be looking at a Bobber versus a Bobber Bonneville versus a Bobber Black. And I want to talk about all the differences there are. And I guess the first thing that we can sort of clear is that there's really no differences from the 18 to the 19. So no big changes, no engine work, it's the same bike. But there is differences that are worth discussing between the Bobber Bonneville and the Bobber Black. So we're going to do an overview, and we're actually going to go sit on this bike and do a startup so you can hear the engine. Now, one of the biggest differences, and actually maybe one of the only differences between the 18 and the 19 is that there's, in my opinion, some difference in the exhaust sound. I think the 19s across the board for the 900 and the 1200 retro bikes, I think they sound meatier in the 19s, and I don't know if it's just me, psychological or whatever, but I'll leave it for you guys to decide. And you know, of course, the exhaust sound comes through a little bit different over the camera and my cheapy mic, so I'll do the best I can. Since both the Bobber Bonneville and the Bonneville Black have the same engine and power plant, let's discuss that first. I'm actually going to be resourcing Triumph's actual website on these numbers, so you know, I'm just, that's where it's coming from. So what we're seeing is about 76 brake horsepower and 78 foot-pounds of torque. Now, your horsepower figure is coming in at just over 6,000 RPM, while your torque figure comes in at 4,000 RPM, which this is very typical for Triumph. Triumph is a brand of torque, and torque is great on a bike because, you know, it allows you to have the acceleration force throughout the rev range. Rather than having to get these crazy high RPMs to get both power and torque, you're going to have a very smooth acceleration, very linear. Whether you're riding a triple, whether you're riding a twin, doesn't really matter with Triumph. They all seem to be about torque. So that's excellent, and those numbers are really good. Now, I did manage to find a Cycle World article which talked about the power, and what they found was there was approximately 73.3 horsepower to the wheel and 75 foot-pounds of torque at under 4,000. So actually, these are complementary numbers because you're not really losing much power to the wheel. You know, when they tell you at the brake, it's less at the wheel. When they tell you at the crank, it's less to the brake, it's less to the wheel. That's generally the way it works. So when we dyno a bike, it's at the wheel. Now, there is some issues with dynos, not really getting into that here. What is the difference between a Bobber and a Bonneville? Now, one says Bobber Bonneville. Does that really mean it's a Bonneville? Well, from what I understand, you have the engine and the transmission. That's it. So the rest of the bike is, it's a different frame, it's a different chassis. You have a monoshock on the rear. That's kind of interesting. You don't have that on the Bonneville. You have the twin shocks. You have a lower seat height. You have different rake angle. You have different bike length. So really, this is a different machine entirely. And one of the cool things about this is it allows you to sort of pick the retro style that you like across a wide spectrum. Okay, now let's actually explore the difference between the Bobber and Bobber Black. So the Bobber Black does cost a little bit more, first of all. So you're going to be paying about $1,100 more bucks for the Bobber Black, and that depends upon the options which were on the Bobber to begin with. Now, perhaps aesthetically, one of the biggest differences is that the Bobber Black implies that it's blacked out. Well, it's not just blacked out. It's sort of murdered out. It's got this flat black paint. It looks really cool if you ask me. Some people like flat paint, some don't. It's up to you. But you're going to be getting painted pipes instead of the chrome, and there's just far less chrome on the bike. I think it looks really cool, but again, that's up to the user. The other big difference is that there's bigger forks on the Bobber Black. Bigger forks, bigger front tire. It's much fatter. You'll notice it from the front. Your forks are actually 47 millimeters on the Bobber Black and 41 millimeters on the Bobber. So does that affect the handling? Well, we're going to find out when we review the bikes. This is just the overview. So in terms of this, let's just look at it aesthetically. You can very much tell the difference in the front tires of these two bikes. The next big difference is that the Bobber Black has twin discs for brakes in the front, and they're Brembo brakes. On your Bobber Bonneville, we're going to have a single disc with Nissan brakes. So you're getting a little more stopping power on the Bobber Black, and it is an upgraded machine. One more thing that you get standard on the Bobber Black is cruise control. And all my friends know, like, I kind of like my technology, and once you've had cruise control, you get used to it really quick. So that motivates me. That kind of pushes me toward the Bobber Black. Now, you can get a Bobber Bonneville with cruise control. It's just an option. So that's something that you'll have to decide, is that important to you? A lot of people don't like cruise control, don't want it on the machine. Understandable. The purists. One other difference between the Bobber and Bobber Black is that the Bobber features full LED lighting. So they look kind of similar. You can really only see it in the headlight, but all the lights on the Bobber Black are LED, whereas you get standard lighting with bulbs on the regular Bobber. All right, so we're now going to go over to the shop, sit on these bikes, start them up, and I have a little extra surprise for you in a tricked out Bobber. So see you there. All right, boom, we're in first person. We probably have better sound now. So let's start these bad boys up. I want to hear the differences between the 18 and the 19. One quick mention is that with your foot peg position, you can have your standard foot peg position, but they actually make a kit that can give you more forward controls if that's your thing. Firstly, where the heck's the key? Well, this is a cool bike, and our key is actually on the side of the bike. So just want to show you where that's at. Turn it on. Obviously you can do that sitting on the bike. Sounds amazing, but let's go to the pipe. That was the 2019. Let's check out the 2018. And we have our tachometer. There's clearly a difference between the two. Okay, so I don't know if it comes through well in the mic, but there's definitely a difference. 2019, as with the other bikes that I've looked at, has a more throaty, they both sound great. The 2019 is just a little more beefy, I think. Now, just for fun, let's look at a tricked out Bobber. So we have here one that's got some cool ape hanger bars. This is a modified standard Bobber, and it's got the nice bars on it. It's got a nice custom leather seat, very retro looking. And it also has these cool Vance and Hines pipes. Let's start this one up. Oh yeah, I like it already. So you'll be able to rev with the Harley boys. Well guys, what do you think about the Bobber and Bobber Black? Let me know down below in the comments. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Whatever. I appreciate any comments, and all the new subscribers, thank you so much. It's been really fun, and I'm really I'm excited to be approaching 1,000 subs. Well, we got a ways to go, but still I think it's a very doable goal, and I want to again thank you guys as always. And we're going to be riding these bikes coming up. We're really waiting on weather. That's the issue here. I'm in the northwest of the United States, and it's just raining like crazy. So I don't really like taking bikes that I don't own out in that. Now these bikes have rain modes on them. I'm an intermediate rider, so I really don't like taking that risk. But as soon as we get a dry day, I don't care what the temperature is, we're going to go out, we're going to ride the two bikes, and we're going to see how they feel on the road. So with that said, thanks for watching. See you next time. Catch you then.